I can tell you this, when I was thinking about deciding to run, one of the people that I came to talk to was Brooke. I talked to other leaders around the state. And what motivated me was what I had already seen in the Texas legislature was many of our actions when I came into office were based on what was going on in our state. And I noticed over the period of time that I was in the legislature, 12 years, both in the House and the Senate, that more and more we were dealing with federal issues. And it just seemed like as Texas leadership was changing, we were at a critical stage, and we needed to elect leaders who would stand up and fight the federal government. So I'm grateful that I've had the opportunity to start serving. The day I was sworn in, Governor Abbott told me as he swore me in, and I put my hand down, he said, "You will be the busiest Attorney General in Texas history." And I can tell you, in the first 10 months, we've been pretty busy. So I want to tell you about a few of those cases. Many of them relate to some of the EPA issues, but I want to kind of give you an overview. We've actually sued the Obama administration now 6 times, which is a remarkable number to be suing the federal government. But thank you. Literally, my second week in office, we were in district court in Southern District of Texas suing on immigration. And of course, that whole lawsuit was spawned by an executive order issued in November of the previous year by Obama, which basically he had ignored his own speeches for 6 years, where he had said that he did not have the authority to change immigration law. And by the way, in changing immigration law and granting lawful status, he also was granting the ability for illegal immigrants not only to stay, but also to receive certain benefits like Medicare and like Social Security, tax credits, international travel, work permits, unemployment insurance, massive benefits that were not voted on, that were not agreed to by Congress, specifically not agreed to by Congress, and certainly the cost to the states were there, and that's part of that was our standing in the case, that it was also going to cost the state hundreds of millions of dollars. And so we filed that lawsuit. Actually, Greg Abbott filed it in December. We argued in January. We were successful getting a preliminary injunction against the federal government, against the Obama administration. In order to get a preliminary injunction, you have to demonstrate irreparable harm to the state and that you're likely to win on the merits. That's a pretty strong start. So we got that, and then recently, the Fifth Circuit, within the last week and a half, 2 weeks, issued an opinion. We argued that case. The Obama administration appealed it there. And not only did we win on the arguments that we won at the district court, the Fifth Circuit actually added another argument that we won on. So our case has become stronger, and we're pretty likely to end up in the Supreme Court in the next few months. So that was our first Obamacare lawsuit, and it's gone pretty darn well. Second, we've been really involved in some of these EPA cases. We recently joined an action with 24 other states. We're leading that with West Virginia on this carbon rule that I know Bob's going to talk more about. Obviously, we have to win that. We think it's a violation of the law. We think it's a violation of the Constitution. We also believe, and we know, that that's going to have a tremendous impact on electricity prices. It's going to have a tremendous impact that I know Bob's going to talk about in allowing us to continue to bring manufacturing and jobs to Texas, and not just Texas, but really all over the country. And so it's critical that our efforts, not just Texas, but all of these other Republican AGs, aligning together to fight the federal government. We believe that we have a very great opportunity to be successful. We've also recently filed a water lawsuit. It's called WOTUS, Waters of the United States, related to the federal government expanding its authority to control property through water. We all know that the EPA has control over navigable waters, waters that you can put a boat in. But they are trying to expand beyond that and control land that has a ditch or a puddle or that could have water. And obviously that will have a great impact on your ability and others' abilities to actually use their property the way they want without having to go through the federal government to get approval. So we recently filed that lawsuit. We were in the Fifth Circuit. We got transferred over to the Sixth Circuit, and we actually got to stay on the implementation of that rule, so we've at least got that stopped for the time being, and we'll continue to fight that lawsuit. We also, within the last 2 weeks, filed another Obamacare lawsuit. You're saying, now, why would you file another Obamacare lawsuit? Hasn't that all been decided? Well, actually, they came up with a new idea, which was to tax the state through managed care organizations, and the cost of the state in the last session was about $85 million. That'll be an ongoing cost of over $100 million a year. And so we filed a lawsuit along with Louisiana and Mississippi to challenge the Obama, actually that's Kansas and Louisiana, to challenge the Obama administration to say, look, You don't have the authority to tax states. That's unconstitutional. This is coercion because the penalty for not paying the tax is that they take away your Medicaid funds, which the original Obamacare decision said was that they could not do. And so we are using the original Obamacare decision to go back and sue them on Obamacare. So look for that over the next couple of months. And finally, one of our most recent lawsuits that I wanted to talk about was with TPPF. Obviously, they've started this new legal group. They filed a lawsuit this week against the Bureau of Land Management with the issues related to the federal government taking land along the border of Oklahoma and Texas. What was nice about that lawsuit is, as the state of Texas, the lawsuit wasn't necessarily right for us to be a part of, so we couldn't file a lawsuit. But as soon as they filed, we intervened, which gave us a vehicle to get into the lawsuit and sue on behalf of the taxpayers over tax issues. So what you all are doing, supporting TPPF's efforts to sue the Obama administration and sue on federal overreach, is giving us the ability as a state to intervene in lawsuits sooner and at a more strategic point. So thank you for supporting that effort. Well, I also wanted to say, I always like to finish by talking a little bit about TPPF. And as I said, I think TPPF, it's had a tremendous impact on my career, but it's also had a tremendous impact on the state. And the leadership that you all provided and the actions that you're taking are critical not just for the state of Texas, but I believe for the entire nation. And I talked about this at the reception. I brought up my favorite movie that's been ranked one of the top 20 movies by the American Film Institute, It's a Wonderful Life. And if you all will remember that story as we're going into the holidays, I'm sure most of you have seen it. You know, George Bailey ends up staying in Bedford Falls instead of going out and traveling, getting educated, and he ends up putting his life into his community. And of course, the villain in the movie is Potter, and he is on opposite sides throughout the entire movie. Well, George ends up getting in trouble for potential loss of funds at a bank, and Potter goes after him, and so George thinks he's going to commit suicide, and his guardian angel steps in to save him by jumping off the bridge. You remember the story. Well, so many times we don't realize the impact of what we're doing. In that movie, George was able to see that his life impacted not just his family, but it impacted the lives of hundreds of people because his brother ended up becoming a war hero, saving the lives of hundreds of men on a ship. And he had a tremendous impact in the entire town. It would have been called Potterville instead of Bedford Falls. And I am convinced that if TPPF and the people in this room, as you impact the state of Texas, our culture, the business community, and really our entire nation, if we took away the efforts of the people in this room and the people that support TPPF, I'm convinced that we wouldn't be Texas, we would be California. And the impact that we're having at this critical time in Texas with your efforts, I believe is going to make the difference in allowing our country to continue to be the land of the free and to be a constitutional government. So thank you all for giving me this opportunity to serve the state of Texas. And thank you for what you do for this organization, for what you do for Texas, and for what you do for this country. God bless you, and have a wonderful life. Thank you.